Yesterday's day went pretty fast. It wasn't that awkward like you thought it would be. It was quite nice. You spent most of your time with Jungkook's mother, sister, and Sarah, along with Junghoon, of course. They told you that Jungkook's younger brother Jihan should be coming tomorrow around afternoon. You were currently in Junghoon's room. You was changing his diaper while Somi made disgusted face. I could never. She gagged while putting her shirt over her nose, which made you chuckle at her. We will see, you said teasingly, giving her a wink. She looked at you with horror on her face and furiously shook her head, causing you to laugh. After you changed Junghoon and dressed him, you all made your way down the stairs. You were on the last step and about to turn left towards the kitchen when you accidentally kicked a little table that stood next to the stairs. It fell on the floor with a loud crash. But that wasn't what caught your attention. Your attention caught by a black metal object which fell out from its place under the table top. You turned to look at Somi to see did she saw the thing you did, and by the look of shock, you could say she did. She looks at you, then at the gun, then averted her eyes at the doorway of the kitchen where Jungkook's mother just emerged and stood. The two of them shared a look. After pin drop silence, you shrugged your shoulders looking at them. I guess security? It came out like a question more than an answer. They looked at each other again and nodded at you, agreeing with you. You must admit this was weird. It's like they were hiding something, but maybe you just saw it the wrong way or something. You don't know, but you guess Jungkook really loves good security. I mean, this is not the first time you saw a gun here in the past 3 months. You saw it once on the kitchen counter. You guess one of the guards left it there, and then you saw it in one drawer in the bathroom downstairs. It's kind of weird and maybe a little too paranoid, but you don't want to interfere in his choice. You guess he has a lot of enemies. Yeah, that would explain a bunch of guards and guns in the house. He is probably like really famous, or he is in the mafia. This is laughable. Mafia. Yes, that's exactly why. Note sarcasm. You can go, girls, I'll pick that up. You both nodded your heads and continue walking towards the kitchen. When you got there, you were greeted with Jungkook, his dad, and Mark sitting around a table while Sarah was behind the counter finishing lunch. As you entered the room, guys stopped speaking and turned their attention towards you. Jungkook was the first to break the silence fell over. What was that sound? Did one of you fall? He said while letting his eyes fall over you, both checking for any injuries. With a slight shake of your head, you cleared your throat awkwardly. No, I actually accidentally crashed on the floor, that little table which stand next to the stairs. You smiled a little, not telling him about a gun. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. You added, smiling nervously. He looked at you weirdly with a little frown before he spoke. Is there anything else you seem nervous? He asked, looking at you with interest and amusement in his eyes. You chuckled slightly, knowing that you are busted. When I crashed, table, dropped gun, which was under the top of it, you said with a slight frown. On this, Mark looked at Jungkook and raised his eyebrows silently, asking him something, on which Jungkook shook his head, then turned to you and smiled. Security? That was all he explained. You nodded your head. Yeah, I guess that, you said. It's not the first time that I see it anyway. You added, looking down while walking towards the table. This catches Jungkook's interest. What do you mean? He asked, looking at you. Well, you stopped, slightly cleared your throat, then continue. I also saw gun here before. A month ago, I think there were no more baby wipes, so I asked Sarah auntie if she knows if there are any, and she told me that there is a bathroom down the hallway that should be more in. That should be more in one of the drawers. So when I went to check there, in the drawer was a gun and package of baby wipes. You said as you sat down in a chair between Jungkook and Somi with Junghoon in your arms. Jungkook nodded his head, looking at you with a slight frown. I hope you didn't touch it. Nope, I didn't. I ran away as fast as I could, but not before I took wipes with me. You confessed with a chuckle, and that brought laugh around the table. For the rest of lunch, it was a comfortable silence. After lunch, Somi, you, and Jungkook's mom, who was carrying Junghoon, exited in the backyard next to the pool and sat down on the bench. The weather here is great. It's not too hot like Mediterranean weather during summer, but warm nonetheless. Your thinking was cut short by Junghoon extending his hands towards you so you could pick him up from his grandmother's arm. You smiled warmly at him and lifted him, holding him close to you. You looked at him and he gives you his toothless smile, then put his head in the crook of your neck and grabbed your shirt tightly in his little fist like he thought that you were you're gonna leave if he doesn't hold you. That's something that you realize he constantly does when he is sleepy. You chuckle silently. You are sleepy, aren't you? You whispered while rocking him slightly. Jungkook's mom looked at you all the time while smiling lovingly. You really know with kids, don't you? She said with an awe look on her face. I guess you said, smiling lightly. And by the look of it, I can tell that you love kids, she said, making you nod while you looked at her. You're not sure where this conversation is heading. Well, did you think about how many kids do you want or names? She looked at you with emotion that you couldn't exactly recognize. You laughed at that with crimson blush over your face. I'm so sorry, what? Ma'am, I don't even have a boyfriend, so forgive me, but I don't really think about that. You said as you calmed yourself down a little. On the information you gave her, she gives you a huge, not gonna lie, little creepy smile. Great. She squealed and then reminded her composure and cleared her throat. I mean, great, you are still young, take your time. You are not getting any younger, maybe you. Maybe you should start looking. Love is maybe closer than you think, she said with a wink. You looked at her, tilting your head to the side, confused, but then pushed all those thoughts to the back of your head when you heard light snores from Junghoon. Looking at him, you excused yourself to go put him in his crib. You was walking towards Junghoon's room when you met Jungkook on the stairs. Is he sleeping? He asked quietly and you nodded your head. Good, I need to go. I'm gonna come home late so that Somi and my mother are gonna stay here too, so you are not alone. If anything happens, call me, he said as he bends down and kissed Junghoon's head. I will, you said quietly as he lifted his head to look at you in the eyes. Your eyes locked and and stayed like that for a couple of moments. You gave your head a little shake and lowered your gaze down, blushing. I'm gonna put Junghoon in his crib, you said as you lifted your gaze to look at Jungkook again. He also gave his head a little shake and then nodded his head, giving you a smile. Okay, I better go now, he said, gesturing towards the door. You nodded again and then started walking upstairs, feeling slightly butterflies in your stomach. This is not good. Entering the warehouse with his dad by his side, they were greeted with his men. Nodding to them, they started walking towards one of the interrogation rooms. As they neared the room, Mark joined both of them. He is inside, he said in all seriousness, which meant business. They nodded their heads towards him, greeting him silently. What do we have? Jungkook asked right away, not beating around the bush. We caught a Russian spy. Mike stopped himself and after a slight pause continued to talk. We found him near the warehouse, he exclaimed with the anger evident in his voice. What? He said, trying to remain calm. What do you mean near the warehouse? He asked again. His frown deepened as he shook his head from side to side. I don't know, cameras were on all the time and neither one of them catch him. He must know where blind spots are. He responded. Where is he? Jungkook asked furiously. At the back, last one, he said as he starts to lead the way. Jungkook turned and looked at his father. They shared a look and he knew that they have a bigger problem than Russians. They have a fucking traitor. There's no other explanation as to how the fucker knows where the blind spots are. Only his men know that. They entered the room to find the little fucker tied to a chair in the middle of the room. He seems bitten a little, but not fucking enough. He smiled at that man. Now he can get rid of all frustration. Coming closer to the man, he lifted his head and looked at Jungkook with an emotionless face. Oh, you want to play? Okay, I'm ready. He thought, smirking. Jungkook walked closer to him. He could be wrong, but he thought that Jungkook saw slightly fear to pass his expression. Well, 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 look who do we have here, he said mockingly as he walked in circle around him. That fucker, it didn't even blink. He took a seat in front of him looking at his face. Do you know why are you here? Jungkook asked but got no answer. Ben, let's start again. How did you know about blind spots? He asked again and still not nothing. Okay, let's change the approach. He stand up from his chair and turned to Mark, gesturing him to come closer to him. Okay, I guess if you don't want to talk, I'm gonna make you talk, he said with a smirk. You see, Mark here really hates Russians, precisely your buddy Aliski, he said, and on the sound of the name of that fucker, his head lifts. Gotcha. Hmm, so you know him, don't you? His smirk widened along with his eyes. He sent you, didn't he? He asked after a couple of seconds, but still got nothing. He went to the table next to the door and, for the fun of it, turned to Mark. Say the number quickly. He looked at him with a smirk on his own. 7. Jungkook turned back towards the table and started counting. 1, 2, 3. Ah, and the winner is. Jungkook lifted drill in his hands to show him a thing that going to be the end of him if he doesn't start to speak. A drill. Jungkook chuckled, coming back closer to the guy. Okay, these are rules. I will make 7 holes in your body with this drill, but also make sure that you won't die. And the fun part is, if you scream, we are starting again from the start. Okay? Okay, he told him while playing with the drill in his hand. Shall we start? Jungkook said as he stand right in front of him while he looks at man with widened eyes. Which hand is your dominant, left or right? Certainly you know what, I don't give a fuck, he said to him as he turned his right hand upside down and drilled a hole in the middle of his palm. Blood was splashed from his hand along with his screams. He is not that psychotic and he is no fan of screaming fuckers, but this one he kinda don't mind. To be honest, Jungkook would like to make every single one of those that works for that fucker Allen screams like this. He and his little banda Rusa took too much from him already, and for that he want to make them pay. Oh well, you know the rules. I guess we are starting again, he said, but didn't wait for him to say anything. He held time to speak and he didn't spoke anything, so his chance is lost. Jungkook drilled another hole, but this time in the middle of his thigh, making sure to hit his bone. And that man did he scream his lungs out. Stop, please, he begged, groaning in pain. Jungkook looked at him with a small smirk and crouched in front of him, watching him screaming in his seat from pain. Speak, he ordered him in a voice that shows that he is not in the mood for any kind of bullshit. I was just sent to a check location just to look around and then report to boss. I swear that's my work only, he said quickly. Jungkook nodded his head and turned to look at the other two in the room. They both gave him a nod, indicating that they are listening to what this man is saying. Why do you need to check this location? He asked coldly, slightly frowning. I don't know, and that was a lie. Jungkook at him while turning the drill on and off in his hand, looking at him. His eyes widened and he started talking real fast. Okay, I may be heard Alexei speaking about some kind of attack, but that's all, I swear, he said truthfully this time. Jungkook nodded his head. And where should you report this? They didn't say where. They only told me that they will send someone to pick me up, but they will only pick me when I check ins and outs.